Thank you for stopping by Ballistic Barbecue. On this video, I'm going to be making Focaccia Di Recco on the Primo Oval XL. Let's get going. Focaccia Di Recco, it's an Italian appetizer. It's like flatbread filled with a nice hot cheese. And the biggest secret about making this is how easy it is. We'll keep it between us. Your guests don't need to know it. First thing I have here is a little over 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to be upping the flour as we go. I'm going to start out by a couple nice pinches of finely ground sea salt. We're going to mix this up, and I'm going to create just a well in the middle here. I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of cold water, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now we're going to mix this with a fork. And as I said, as we go, I'm going to add a little bit more flour. All right, I'm going to ditch the fork. I'm going to use the old hands here to get this mixed up. That's a little drier than I want it to be, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water. Okay, as you can see, the dough's become somewhat elastic. I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to dust my work surface here. We're going to start kneading. And I'm going to knead this for 5 to 10 minutes. Basically, I want it to get nice and elasticy. All right, and after about 9 minutes, I've ended up with a nice ball of dough here. So let's get the bowl back into the picture. Now I'm going to take my arch nemesis plastic wrap, tied inside around this actual ball of dough here. And I'm going to leave it out at room temperature for about an hour. See you in a bit. Dough's rested 1 hour. I'm going to go ahead and divide this dough ball into halves. Set one aside. Now I am using a rectangular pan, so I'm going to try to get this as close to a rectangle as I can when I roll this out. But whatever shape pan you're using, you know, circular, rhombus, whatever, that's what you want to try to roll it out to. A little flour here, and here we go. Okay, now I'm going to take my hands and just start stretching it out by hand. Be careful not to tear this. All right, this is looking good. I don't want to chance my luck here, but I can actually see my hands through this dough now. We are ready to put this on my pan. So I'm using what is called a half sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and brush on some olive oil, some more extra virgin olive oil on the bottom here. Now I'm going to take the dough and just attempt to stretch it on here. I'm not going to worry too much about covering the entire pan. We're going to go for that kind of rustic look. If I can get it to cover the whole entire pan, that'd be cool, but again, I'm not worrying about that. All right, I am pleased with this. The entire rectangle is not covered, but most of it is. Just a couple of the corners are not. And again, we're not going for perfection here. It's that kind of rustic thing going on. I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to roll out the top portion of the dough here. Top portion of the dough is rolled out, ready to go. Now we're going to put in that cheese filling, and what this is, it's an Italian cheese. It's a cow cheese, very soft. It's called stracchino, and you can also use a cheese called cresenza. I think it may actually be the same cheese, just from a different region, I don't know. But the only place I could find this in San Diego was our Little Italy at a cheese shop there. Seeing the stuff here in front of me, however, I think a very good substitute would be Oaxaca cheese. If you have any access to Mexican markets, that would be a great, I mean, it's the same texture, the soft version of the Oaxaca. And this is a very kind of a mild cheese. All right, set the cheese aside. Now we are ready to put on the topping shell here. I'm just going to cover all this up, press the edges together. You can see I folded over all the edges, and I'm pressing them to prevent any leakage out the side of this dough here. Okay, now what we're going to do is ventilate the top. There's two ways you could do this. You could just take a fork and pop some holes in this, or you can actually just take the top layer and just give it a little tear, which is what I'm going to do. And yes, a little cheese is probably going to come out the top, but we don't care. It'll be fine. All right, next step, a little bit more extra virgin olive oil. We're going to paint the surface with a thin coating. Now we're just going to hit it with a little bit more of that sea salt. All right, I have the Primo fired up, ready to go in the backyard. Let's cook this thing. All right, I have the Primo preheated to 450 degrees, and it's perfect for this type of cook. In fact, if we were having guests over and we just decided to have cocktails and appetizers the whole night, I could keep pumping the apps out on this thing all night. I could cook the whole meal if I wanted, appetizers, entree, make cookies for dessert. It's perfect. And the nice thing is, I'll shut down the vents at the end of the cook, and I'll have enough fuel left for at least one more cook by the time I'm done. So really nice. Now when I'm running temps this high, you need to make sure you open this very, very carefully. You don't want to rush all this oxygenated air into the cooker. So I'm just going to do what they call burping it. And you can see that oval shape, plenty of room for this big pan. We're going to close it. It's going to be a very quick cook. We're looking at 5, maybe 6 minutes. All right, the focaccia's done. It actually took 8 minutes, but again, this is something that you're going to be kind of peeking at every few minutes just to make sure you're not overcooking it. Right now we have the kind of a saltine cracker look to it. Looks good. There we are. And how's that look? So I'm going to let this kind of cool down a little bit, then we'll slice it up, give it a try. It's cooled down a little bit. I'm sure not enough. I'm positive I'm going to burn my mouth on this, but I cannot wait to try it. So let's go ahead and cut this up. Now at this point you can garnish it with some herbs or whatever, but I'm going to garnish this like a really nice Italian restaurant in San Diego's Little Italy does. And they just have some honeycomb on a card, and this is how they serve it. And that's how I'm going to eat it. All right, I'm going to pick this piece right here, right in the middle. Take just a little bit of this honeycomb. I mean, it's pretty much the best of everything here. You got the saltiness, you got the crackery crispiness, you got the cheesiness and the sweetness of the honey. I love it. We'll see how much of this is left in 30 minutes. Anyway, guys, as usual, thank you for stopping by and checking out my video. I really appreciate it. Primo, thank you for sponsoring this video. Definitely appreciate that. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.